I would say that we don't even know how healthy honey is. And one more thing I discovered over the time, that so many people who really love and appreciate honey have never tasted real, authentic honey. And 5 years after that, we discovered that people with diabetes began to report that when they eat our honey, even as much as they want, they do not experience changes in blood sugar levels. An interesting study was conducted with 2 samples of honey, one of which was satisfactory and the other of the highest quality possible. And bacteria and parasites were placed in both honeys, and they could easily survive there, but only in the real honey did they die. There are still a few people who will talk about the danger of honey, although such attempts are being made. I want to share with you only based on my personal experience and my personal knowledge, personal research, achievements and results, many of which surprised me, some shocked me. I do want to say that these results inspired and pleased. What you will hear at least can help you improve your health, if that's what you care about. If I hear somebody talking I do not like honey, I'd like to ask him a question. Have you ever tasted it? Even if honey meets all regulated requirements, being certified, pass tests to confirm its quality even in good laboratories, it may turn out to be a completely useless product. I hope that you will find it very interesting. So, make yourself comfortable. Perhaps this will benefit your life. Let's start with the fact that refusing to feed our bees with a sugar syrup at first seemed like something unimportant. And what seemed completely unimportant and insignificant at the beginning, and even completely unnecessary to stop feeding the bees with sugar, very soon showed that this was completely wrong. The first thing we noticed was an improvement in bee health. This was reflected in the fact that those bee colonies that didn't receive sugar syrup needed less attention regarding health. Resistance has increased significantly. Apparently, their immunity has improved. And also this fact served as a trigger to stop using sugar. We didn't pay much attention to this. We consider it is a subjective observation. This didn't lead us to serious conclusions or any estimations. But after approximately 5 years of such practice, we discovered that people with diabetes began to report that when they eat our honey, even as much as they want, they do not experience change in his blood sugar levels. Once we had such an interesting experience of communicating with a person who had diabetes type 1. The situation was so serious that it was a matter of life and death. Severe obesity, trophic ulcers, the person couldn't walk. Has sent me a video report that he ate so much honey that it was unacceptable, but the device measuring sugar levels showed nothing. And for sure, I was surprised no less than he. And if at the beginning we were looking for an explanation for this fact, that in some cases people's sugar levels didn't rise, it depends on the type of honey. For example, acacia, which is sometimes allowed to patients with diabetes in small quantities. But in a short while, I noticed that the same thing happens when using any high-quality honey. The only thing I have not tried is to give honey with a large amount of honeydew to diabetics patients to see the results. And at minimum, we discovered that honey is such an unique product, and although 80% consists of simple sugars, unlike ordinary sugar, it manifests itself in a completely different way when it enters our body, which was noticeable by diabetic patients. Did you know that 15-40 minutes enough after you ate honey that your body would have completely absorbed it? And most likely your heart and liver thank you very much. The pleasant thing to hear that our body doesn't make any effort to ensure that honey is absorbed and beneficial. And an amazing fact that honey doesn't behave at all like sugar in the body. Even it consists of glucose and fructose. Another amazing property of honey is that although it is a very strong acid, the pH of honey is 3 to 4, but we don't feel it because of the large amount of sugars. However, if a person drinks honey diluted in warm water, it acts like an alkali. Obviously, it is clear that for a person with digestive system disorders, it doesn't matter at all whether he has high or low acidity, honey water will be very useful. Honey itself identifies the problem and eliminates the problem. We can suppose that the same thing happens with sugar level in blood. This is truly amazing. I don't know why this happens. There are some scientific studies that say why this might happen. But in this video we will rely only on our own experience. After we noticed that giving up sugar improved the health of bees, and also the decision was made based on subjective and visual observation, this was the first step we took to improve the quality of honey. And for sure, after reviews from people with diabetes, this made us think about what effect the medications that beekeepers use can have on our body. Surely all drugs, antibiotics and acaricides, which are very dangerous, will definitely remain in honey. And we started to apply our efforts, which took many years, an attempt to completely abandon any drugs, acaricides, antibiotics, which harm both humans and bees. Shortly after, we began to receive interesting evidence. The girl told me, saying that she had been living in Moscow for more than 70 years, and she for sure knew that she was allergic to honey. But when I tasted your honey, I was able to eat it as much as I want, and I noticed I didn't have any allergies. So we began to understand that many people are not allergic at all to honey. Of course, it's possible that there is such a thing as individual intolerance. Also, perhaps a deep understanding of the topic will force you to draw other conclusions, and perhaps it is not honey at all that is to blame. And we started getting more testimonies like this, that people were no longer allergic to honey. This brought us to a clear understanding that people are allergic not to honey, but to those substances that are present in honey that are unnatural for honey. Another amazing beekeeping product that everyone has probably already heard about is royal jelly. Royal jelly is produced by bees and used by bees to raise larvae. The same egg, depending on how the bees feed it, will turn into either a worker bee or a queen. If the larva receives royal jelly throughout its life, then the queen bee will form out from this larva. If only 3 days, and after that the diet will be changed, this egg will turn out to be a working bee. If the bees would use low-quality food, the queen will end up undeveloped. And normally, you should get rid of this queen. But if for some reason this poor-quality queen becomes the ancestor of the entire bee colony, then this colony will develop poorly, will not have enough honey, and will simply be useless. So the nutrition of the queen bee is of great importance. So, in most cases, or almost always, the royal jelly that is presented on the market will not be suitable for raising high-quality queens. And, of course, a few words about bee bread. It contains all known vitamins, micro and macro elements, almost the entire list of essential amino acids, more than 50 enzymes and hormones. We have plenty of things to supply all our body needs. We have everything our immune system needs to build protection and cope with any threats. But as well, unfortunately, we have such a problem as the loss of useful properties and quality of the product. And unfortunately, the methods used by the beekeepers for obtaining bee bread and pollen significantly impair their beneficial properties, sometimes reducing them almost to zero. Should we expect any benefits from using such quality product? Beeswax. You might think, what problems could there be? The problem is really huge, and it requires a lot of time to explain. We will only limit ourselves to this statement. That is, currently, it is very difficult to find high-quality wax suitable for preparing creams or medicines, even useful for oncology or cancer. The information given before was only for one reason. I have just said that in order to lay the foundation and talk about the conclusion to which we have come. Once we received an amazing testimony from a girl who used our cream. The cream composition was made of wax and olive oil. She was very grateful and shared their results. And for a long time she tried to convince her sister to try this cream, who used very expensive cosmetics. But ultimately she admitted that this cream was more effective. She absolutely didn't expect to get such a great result, and we were no less surprised. It was pleasant, and we began to receive similar testimonies more and more often. And we began to realize what was going on here. There are no small and insignificant things. Everything matters. For example, calcium is not absorbed without vitamin D. By losing the beneficial properties of the bee bread, it begins to act completely differently. A serious question must be answered: how much does 1% loss of beneficial properties reduce or destroy the potential of a product? So, to answer this question easily and visibly, let's use an example of a bicycle. Okay, if we will take and remove only 1% of the links in the bicycle chain, pay attention that 1% of a bicycle chain is less than 1% of all technical parts of a bicycle. So that practically we will destroy even less than 1% of the structure of this bicycle. So the interesting fact is that losing only 1% of bike's chain makes the bike a completely different thing. Loss of 1% of the chain and the loss of less than 1% of all technical parts makes it a completely different thing. We cannot develop speed, we cannot drive far, but what is very important is that we continue to use it, but as a means of transportation, for example, putting something on the steering wheel or on the frame. Now it becomes a cart, and surprisingly, it continues to benefit us. We can be even happy and say that now we don't need to have to carry everything on our shoulders. But now we have a completely different tool at our disposal. That is, a slight loss of beneficial properties leads sometimes to such results that we don't even think about. So much depends on so-called small things. We have a lot of similar stories not only about cream, but honey and other our bee products. And shortly I realized that what were people talking about, sharing their results, that I had never heard of. I couldn't even imagine about what beekeeping products are capable of and be so effective. At first I was happy about my luck, but then I saw a pattern in it. The pattern consisted of an objective and deep understanding of our own subject. Somewhere a spoke was removed from the wheel, somewhere an extra link from the chain lost. But it is still good and sweet. We have tests from the laboratory. It was not heated, and the diastase number is high. It is still tasty and sweet, and the humidity is good, but this is no longer a bicycle, this is really a cart. And we have to embrace the fact that such honey has a completely different effect on it. Can increase the sugar level in blood, for example. But the purpose and intention of the product was completely different. An interesting study was conducted with satisfactory and high-quality honey. Bacteria and parasites were placed in a solution of honey and water. They could remain quite comfortably in industrial honey and died in a high-quality honey. We mentioned bee bread and its amazing chemical composition and the fact that it contains everything necessary for a person not to get sick. It is becoming more clear now why do many people not see the effect of using beekeeping products. Well, this applies not only to beekeeping. Unfortunately, the desire to have more money causes people to do reckless things. And using the example of beekeepers, those having the opportunity to make everyone healthy, they instead find opportunities to get sick and die from cancer. It's amazing. Whether the pedals are needed will depend on whether the chain is on the bicycle is in order. No one will ever argue that if a person has had some organs removed due to critical necessity, he continues to live. But this is no longer the same quality of life. For sure, we buy bicycles not to destroy it. Throw out the chain and remove the steering wheel because you can ride without it. Do we agree to live life at 80, 50, 20% of our potential? Or do we still live in order to maximize the most of the opportunities given to us?